Hello. I've been asked to create a video for Griffin Arts Project. This is me, Kelly Lycan. That's me yesterday. And I'm a installation artist. I call myself a photo-based installation artist. And I've been asked to explain my involvement in the upcoming exhibition at Griffin Arts Project curated by David McWilliams called NOW BULLETIN, Artworks, Letters, and Printed Matter from the Garry Neill Kennedy Collection. So my first attempt at this video is this. So then I tried again yesterday and realized that video just kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. So I'm just going to go to stills instead. Same idea, more outfits. I attended Nova Scotia College of Art and Design in the 90s, which is one of the reasons that David and Lisa invited me to respond to the exhibition. And it was a very important education for me. I was coming from a very conventional photography background, and NASCAD taught me to be a more conceptual thinker, and it really helped me to figure out how to combine photography, space, and objects using installation art as my medium. And it was also at this time that I had the privilege to meet and interact with Garry Neill Kennedy as he was just wrapping up his time at NASCAD. So shortly after I was asked to respond to the exhibition NOW BULLETIN, curated by David McWilliams, I signed out this book called The Last Art College by Garry Neill Kennedy, Nova Scotia College of Art and Design, 1968-1978. And this is a really amazing account of all the activities that happened at NASCAD during this time frame. So performances, invitations, exhibitions, and because I have a tendency in my own practice to repurpose photographs or artist events from the past, this was like amazing, rich material for me. This is Garry Neill Kennedy and John Baldessari in discussion about a project John did in 1974. And so one of the projects that intrigued me was a project by David Askewald, and it was called the Projects Class. And he started it in 1969 when he was teaching at NASCAD. And what he did is he invited some of the visiting artists that were coming to NASCAD from New York, Los Angeles, Toronto, Vancouver to make projects for students to manifest in his class. And he printed them on these index cards and gave them to the students to interpret as they wished. And so I felt like this was an interesting project to revisit in relation to NOW BULLETIN exhibition. And so Emily Carr was generous enough to allow me to teach a course similar to Projects Class. I'm calling it Projects Plus Class, and it will be a similar format. I will invite artists from mostly Vancouver and the area around Griffin Arts Projects, and invite them to present projects for students to manifest. And maintaining this format of index cards that David Askewald used. It will be a much more inclusive projects class taught this fall at Emily Carr 2020. And I sort of felt like this was a great opportunity to kind of carry on some of the spirit of exchange that happened in NASCAD. And so this course will be in partnership with Emily Carr University and Griffin Art Projects to be taught in the fall in parallel with NOW BULLETIN. So the other component to my involvement with the exhibition NOW BULLETIN at Griffin Art Project is to participate in the studio residency at Griffin Art Projects. I've been generously invited in parallel to the exhibition, so fall 2020. And I was planning on using the space as an occasional classroom for the projects class I would teach at Carr University, but because of COVID, I sort of have to rethink that concept. And so I may continue to work on some work I have in progress, or I might address directly the history of NASCAD and maybe do a piece that involves photocopy. I'm not really sure yet. I have to wait and see, and that seems to be the attitude to have in this pandemic era. Just to give you a sense of my studio practice and material investigation, I thought I'd give you a random tour of a shelf I have in my studio. And it's sort of a landscape of ideas I collect, material investigations that I don't want to lose track of. They might be pieces left over from installations I've had in the past, or bits that I don't want to lose track of for the future. I tend to collect or use takeout containers, plaster, and house paint. So some of them are models, but then some of them are artwork. And these are the chopsticks I use for stirring house paint. I also like using paper streamers and yogurt containers. This is a model for a public art that is in Richmond. This is another maquette. This is a recent model for an installation that I'm hoping to do, including this. These are stoves that are a representation of artist stoves in their studio. This is a Emily Carr stove from her Victoria studio that I hope to create more life-size. And then this is a grouping that I work on once in a while, just using residue from paint cans, ornaments. It's kind of garden-like. I'm not sure yet. All of this is kind of a work in progress. But I like this shelf as a way of keeping track of thoughts. Here's a little ta-da moment. Ta-da!